Hey, what is up, you guys? Quentin Loves Trains and Horror Movies 2015, and today I'm going to be reviewing Halloween 5, which often includes the subtitle The Revenge of Michael Myers, released in 1989. After the previous film ended with an indication that Jamie Lloyd would become evil, head producer Mustafa Akkad was like, nah man, let's make another Michael movie. Halloween 5 picks up immediately after part 4, kind of like how part 2 took place right after the original ending, right after the original, but unlike with that situation, part 5's production was super rushed and had an entirely new crew on it, whose work motto was make it up as you go along. Like they literally didn't have a completed script. When they started shooting, the result is a bizarre entry that introduces a crappy origin story for Michael and that mysterious man in black character who was never written into the script. They just made him up on the fly to fix plot problems. And man, does this show, for all its flaws, though at least this movie still has a bunch of kills. Let's get to reviewing this movie. On October 31st, 1988, Michael was relentlessly shot dozens of times by state police before he fell down into a mine shaft, but he survived the long fall and a dynamite blast as he crawled out a side tunnel and then floated downstream in a rushing river. Later, he stumbled into a riverside shack inhabited by a local hermit and collapsed onto the wooden floor. Halloween Eve, 1 year later, during a thunder and lightning storm, 8-year-old Jamie was undergoing monitoring testing as she tossed and turned at Haddonfield Children's Clinic. She woke up screaming, although her cries were muted, as she recalled the final nightmarish scene of the previous film in which she wore her clown costume with mask and stabbed her stepmother, Darlene Carruthers, as a bath was being prepared for her. She now retained a telepathic, physically possessed link between herself and her uncle Michael after touching his hand, and their movements mirrored each other. The traumatized girl experienced frightening visions and a seizure-like presence as she wrote on a chalkboard, "He's coming for me." Michael Myers awoke for a year-long coma at the same moment, donned his mask, and killed the Mountain Man. Dr. Sam Loomis interrupted the girl's emergency treatment to open her trachea, asserting that she would stabilize. The recuperating mute Jamie was visited in her clinic room by her foster sister Rachel Carruthers and her ebullient friend Tina Williams and their dog Max. Shortly later, they were joined by Dr. Loomis. A rock thrown through her window contained a note, "The evil child must die." Dr. Loomis feared that the whole series of events at Halloween time might happen again. The inhabitants of the town were irrationally scared as Rachel returned it to her red brick Haddonfield home with Max. The masked killer watched her from nearby bushes. In her art class, Jamie sensed a premonition of death. Believing Max was in danger, as Rachel was being stalked at her house, Dr. Loomis phoned Rachel, interrupting her taking a shower and getting ready for the weekend party, nude and wrapped in a towel. Rachel fled from her house, when ordered by Dr. Loomis to vacate immediately. Afterwards, police found no evidence of foul play and Max returned safely. Later, however, as Rachel dressed in her upstairs bedroom, Myers again appeared in her closet as she dressed in another room. After Rachel found a framed picture of her foster sister, Jamie, with cracked glass, she was suddenly stabbed in the chest, shoulder with a pair of scissors welded by Michael. This violent death again caused shaking and convulsions throughout Jamie's body. In the police department, the crazed Dr. Loomis recalled the emotionless killer of the previous Halloween with Sheriff Ben Meeker via Bo Star. You never saw his eyes? You never saw his eyes? You never saw that nothing, no expression, blank. My memory goes back 12 years to the night when I offered. He removed his black glove to show his disfigured, scarred, fire-burned hand. Look at that. I prayed that evil would burn in hell, but in my heart, I knew that hell would not have him. They were summoned to the local cemetery. Party girl Tina arrived at the Carruthers home, where there was no evidence of Rachel. Looking forward to a weekend Halloween party, while Rachel's parents were away, with her blonde friend Samantha Thomas and with their respective boyfriends' car enthusiast Mike and Food Mart store clerk Spitz. Although Michael was in the house spying on them, nothing happened, although he soon turned up outside the children's clinic. A terrorized Jamie thought she was being stalked by Myers as she fled through the clinic's corridors, laundry room, and basement furnace room, although it was only the clinic's gardener. Dr. Loomis badgered Jamie, begging her to help him find Michael. He asserted frantically, "We both know he's alive, but you know where he is. Why? Why are you protecting him? You can't hide from him. He always can get you. Today in the cemetery, somebody dug up a coffin. It was a coffin of a 9-year-old girl. What do you think he's going to do about that, huh? You're 9 years old, aren't you, Jamie? Tears won't get you anywhere. Help me find him. We'll find him together. There's a reason why he has this power over you. Do you even wonder what it is? A Chicago-bound bus arrives in Haddonfield, where an unidentified black-dressed, trench-coated figure with silver steel-tipped boots disembarked. Dr. Loomis took his gun into the Myers home in town, where it was completely in disrepair and overgrown with weeds. He called out, "Michael," as he roamed through the dusty, vacant rooms. "He have you come home, Michael. I know what you want from her." The mysterious stranger with boots and a tattooed rune on his wrist, similar to the one on Michael's wrist, was also in the house. After loading his truck with 3 cases of stolen beer from Spitz Food Store for their planned Tower Farm Halloween party, later that night, Michael Myers scratched Mike's freshly waxed and polished convertible with a garden claw implement. When he challenged the masked killer, Mikey was grabbed by the throat and stabbed in the forehead with the 3-pronged claw tool. Before being dragged away, a costume pageant was being planned at the children's clinic. Jamie was dressed as a pink princess with a tiara, and one of her young friends, Billy Hill, was dressed as a pirate. During the pageant, Jamie fainted and convulsed again because of the impending danger to Tina. In front of the Carruthers house, where the black-garbed stranger stood, Tina, costumed as a sexy room service maid, was picked up by a masked Michael driving deceased Mikey's car. He was wearing her present a grotesque bulbous nosed mask. She wasn't aware that Mikey was dead and called him a psycho boyfriend when he screeched to a halt in the middle of the street to stop for cigarettes at a gas station convenience store. Stuttering out a few words, Jamie was able to warn Dr. Loomis about Tina's location. Identified as Bill's gas station at 5th and Main, known for selling giant cookies, and police were radioed to intercept and protect her there, as Michael, with his own mask, drove away when Tina was reunited with Jamie at the clinic. The young girl was able to speak and expressed fears that Tina was going to be the next victim of the boogeyman. two state deputy police officers, Deputy Nick Ross and Tom Farah, who were ordered to follow Tina, drove her to the Tower Farm party, unknowingly leading Michael Myers to her location. Seen intermittently and intercut into the next few scenes, Jamie and Billy ran on foot to the farmhouse to warn Tina about her life being in grave danger. At the Tower Farm, Tina, Samantha, and Spitz play a prank on the two idiotic officers. The two females pretended to be assaulted by a knife-wielding, masked Michael Myers, Spitz in costume. In the farm's barn adjacent to the farmhouse, the trio ran after some kittens. When Tina returned to the house, Spitz and Samantha prepared to make love among some straw bales. Spitz was impaled with a pitchfork, stabbed in the middle of his back, splattering blood onto Samantha's breasts underneath him. And then Samantha's body was sliced with a curved scythe outside. The two deputies, Ross and Farah, innocently assuming that Spitz was still wearing the Michael Myers mask, were both stabbed multiple times with a pitchfork in their squad car. Afterwards, Tina, who went looking for her missing friends in the barn, found their bloodied bodies as they rolled onto her. She fled screaming to the house. She saw the two dead patrol officers in their vehicle. When the two children arrived at the farm, they and Tina were chased by Michael Myers. During the chase, Michael fatally stabs Tina. Sheriff Meeker and multiple police officers arrived on the scene as Dr. Loomis saves the two young children. Loomis asked Jamie in the ambulance, "Now are you willing to help me?" And she agreed to help in his quest to kill the evil Myers. Loomis spoke facing into the woods that surrounded the crime scene, luring Michael back to his old house in town with Jamie as bait. Michael, it will destroy you too. One day, Michael. This rage that drives you. You think it will, if you kill them, it will all go away? It won't. You have to fight it in the place where it's strongest, where it all began. If you want to get rid of this rage, Michael, just rage. Michael, go home. Go home to your house. She'll be there waiting for you. You will find her waiting for you. Jamie sat conspicuously in view in front of the second-story window in the large Victorian-style Myers house protected by Deputy Charlie Bloch, planted there while other officers and Dr. Loomis surrounded the home are guarded from the inside. The massive operation was circumvented when a distress call from the clinic diverted most of the police force. to that location. Dr. Loomis predicted, now you'll come, won't you, Michael? Outside the house, Deputy Eddie Gray's parked police car was rammed from behind, and his face was repeatedly smashed against the steering wheel. His death cries were heard on Deputy Bloch's walkie-talkie. At gunpoint, Dr. Loomis considered Deputy Bloch to remain in the house and proceed with the original plan. Deputy Bloch attempted to escape with a rope ladder extended from the second floor window. As Michael bursts through the door, he tied his gun into Myers with 10 shots with no visible effect, and then was hanged in one of the rope ladder nozzles outside the window. As Jamie fled to another room, Sheriff Meeker supervised as the bodies of 2 victims of Myers as they were taken out on stretchers at the children's clinic. Jamie's screams echoed in the laundry chute as she dropped to the basement and then valiantly struggled to climb away from Myers. Frenzied stabbing knife through the metal, she managed to emerge from the chute on the next floor up, and then found herself in the candlelit attic of the Myers house, littered with the display bodies of victims, including the dog Max, Mikey, and Rachel. As the killer approached, she laid in a coffin, the one that Michael had earlier dug up in the cemetery. After removing the dead body of a 9-year-old girl ready to accept death, as she raised his sacrificial knife, she called out, "Uncle!" She pointed at her eye and requested that he remove his mask so that she could see his eyes. "Let me see." Michael paused, then removed his mask. She responded, "You're just like me," watching as a single tear streaked down his face. When she reached to wipe it away from his cheek, he reacted wildly and continued his raging pursuit. She ran down the stairs directly into the arms of Dr. Loomis, who cried out, "You want her? Here she is, a little girl. Come and get her." He led Myers into a trap in the living room, using Jamie as the prize. A heavy metal chain net was dropped from the ceiling on Myers. Dr. Loomis fired 4 tranquilizer darts into the seized madman and then beat him unconscious with a wooden plank. Myers was taken into police custody and placed temporarily in the Haddonfield Police Department's jail for future transportation to a maximum security facility by the U.S. National Guard, where Meeker claimed he'll stay until the day he dies. Jamie added, "He'll never die." In a patrol car outside, as Jamie awaited transportation back to the clinic, an explosion rocked the jail. The black-garbed stranger with silver steel-tipped boots had entered the police department and murdered Sheriff Meeker, Deputy Tony, and 6 other officers. In the aftermath, Jamie walked through the carnage all around and looked at Michael's cell to find it empty. She sobbed and screamed, "No, no!" That's it. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, came out in 1989 and is the lowest grossing film of the series. But I liked Halloween 5. It was pretty good. And I also want to give a shout out to Christian Hannah Horror, Nick the Lost River Drive-In, Lee Drumdums, Pizzle, Braden Timmons, Nick Push's Horror Channel, Jake Blaster Productions, Bud and Halloween Verse, Dave McRae, Jimmy Champagne, Zach CZ's World, Mike and Jay We Watched a Movie, James A. Janice from Dead Meat. In 2 weeks, on September 29th, I'll be reviewing Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Until next time, I'm Quentin Loves Trains and Horror Movies 2015. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below on what you think. Please follow me on Instagram and support me on Patreon. Thanks, be good people.